The town of Brighthaven was small, the kind of place where everyone thought they knew everyone else's story. Houses were old, streets were quiet, and people often whispered over fences instead of speaking aloud. Among the houses was a large, gray one that stood taller than the rest. It belonged to Richard Hale, widower who raised his only son, Ethan, after tragedy struck their family years ago. But what most didn't know was that Richard also carried a secret so heavy. He would do anything to keep it hidden. Ethan was 22, a bright young man full of dreams. He was different from his father, gentle where Richard was strict, warm where Richard was cold. Ethan's heart had found a home in Maya, his girlfriend. She was bold, curious, and sharp-eyed. She never took things at face value. Where Ethan was content with the surface, Maya dug deeper. That nature, though loved by Ethan, would soon become dangerous. Maya had always felt something strange in Richard's house. The walls seemed to echo with more than footsteps. Rooms were locked for no reason. Sometimes, when she stayed over, she heard noises at night, dragging sounds, like furniture moving, though no one was awake. She would mention it, but Ethan always dismissed her. "Dad's just private," he would say. "He's always been like that." But Maya wasn't satisfied. She was the kind of person who noticed the way Richard's eyes narrowed when someone asked too many questions, or how his hand tightened when Ethan mentioned their late mother. Something inside told her that Richard's story was not as simple as he made it sound. One rainy evening, Richard invited Maya to dinner. Ethan had gone out with friends, leaving her alone with his father. The house felt colder that night, as if the rain itself had seeped into the walls. Richard spoke little, his words short and heavy. Maya tried to be polite, but her mind was elsewhere. She couldn't stop looking at the door at the end of the hallway, the one Ethan was never allowed to open. "Why do you keep that room locked?" she asked casually, pushing her luck. Richard's fork stopped midway to his mouth. His eyes, sharp and hard, fixed on her. "That's not your concern," he said flatly. Maya gave a small smile, pretending to drop the subject. But inside she knew she had touched something raw. That night, when Richard left to take a phone call, she slipped away. Her feet carried her to the locked door. To her surprise, the key was still hanging from the knob, almost as if fate wanted her to turn it. The next morning, she tried to call Ethan, but he didn't answer. He was probably still upset, still refusing to believe her. She considered calling the police herself, but fear held her back. What if they didn't believe her either? What if Richard found out before she could prove anything? By afternoon, Ethan finally showed up at her apartment. His eyes were red, his face tight with stress. He sat down heavily, avoiding her gaze. "Maya," he began, "I thought about what you said. I can't just accuse my father with no proof. But something about that picture won't leave me alone. I want to see the room for myself." Relief and worry tangled in Maya's chest. "Then let's go together. Tonight. Before he knows." They agreed, and when night fell, they drove back to the gray house. Richard's car was gone from the driveway, which gave them a small sense of safety. Ethan used the spare key to let them in, and they hurried down the hall to the locked door. This time, Maya showed him the trunk, the papers, the photographs still pinned on the wall. Ethan's face crumbled as the truth pressed down on him. "Oh my God," he whispered. His hands trembled as he touched the photographs. He really did this. All this time. Maya grabbed his arm. "We have to go to the police. Now." But before they could move, the front door slammed. The sound shot through the house like thunder. Richard's voice followed, heavy and furious. "Ethan," he barked. "Maya." Ethan froze. Maya's grip on his arm tightened. "He can't find us here," she whispered. "We need to run." But it was too late. Richard's footsteps thundered closer until he stood in the doorway, his eyes burning with betrayal. His hand wasn't empty. He carried a black revolver, steady and cold. Ethan's voice broke. "Dad, what is this? Tell me it isn't true." Richard's face twisted, not with shame, but with rage. "You weren't supposed to see this. Either of you." His gaze cut to Maya like a knife. "She put these thoughts in your head. She's trying to turn you against me." "Dad, stop!" Ethan shouted, stepping in front of Maya. "This is your fault, not hers. I saw the pictures. You can't hide it anymore." Richard's hand shook on the gun, but his eyes never left Maya. "If she hadn't come into this family, you would still respect me. You would still love me the way a son should." His voice cracked, then hardened again. "She ruins everything." Before Ethan could move, the gun went off. The sound exploded through the house, echoing off the walls. Maya gasped, stumbling back, clutching her chest. Blood bloomed across her shirt, spreading fast. She fell to the ground, her eyes wide with shock and pain. Ethan screamed, dropping beside her. Maya, no, no, stay with me. He pressed his hands against the wound, but it was useless. Her breathing grew shallow, her gaze fading. Richard stood above them, his face pale, the gun still smoking in his hand. For a moment, silence filled the room. Heavy, suffocating silence. Ethan looked up at his father with pure hatred. You killed her, he whispered. His voice shook, but his eyes blazed. You killed the only good thing in my life. Richard lowered the gun, his expression unreadable. I did what had to be done. But Ethan knew then that the man before him wasn't his father anymore. He was a monster who had traded his soul for a secret. A man who would bury anyone who threatened to expose him. Maya's last breath escaped her lips in a trembling sigh, and the room went still. Ethan's tears dripped onto her lifeless face, and something inside him shattered forever. The secret Richard fought to protect now stood between father and son, a wall of blood and betrayal. And though Maya's voice was gone, her silence screamed louder than any truth Ethan had ever known.